going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Welcome to Weekly Dose of Dano TV. I'm your host, Dano, and today we have a super special episode for today. We have Jason Thompson coming on the show for today to talk about his life experience on and off the court. And I'm going to let you know, Jason, a little bit of a heads up. We're going to be mixing up the questions today because yes, we all know that you are an NBA player, but you are much more than that. You know, that's only a certain percentage of who you are, but you are a much bigger individual on and off the court. So I'm just giving you a little bit of heads up. I can't tell you the questions right now, but if you're watching this live, if you're watching this on the replay, let me know where you're watching from. And you guys already know what you got to do before we even get started. I need to see a hashtag positivity posse, just so I know that you're rocking with the content, that you're here, that you're living in the moment, and that you're leaving your thoughts, your ideas, because we want to hear about it here on Weekly Dose of Dano. And you might introduce us to a new perspective that we might not have even thought of before, or maybe a new question that you might have that you always wanted to ask an NBA player, and now you have the opportunity to. So thank you, first and foremost. Jason, thank you so much for being here for today. My Positivity Posse, thank you so much for being here today as well. I really do appreciate it. And there's nowhere on this earth that I would rather be right here than spending it with you guys. So thank you so much for being here for today. So we have a lot to discuss today. You guys already know how I usually do my street interviews, but I'm not going to be doing it for today, just to, save some time, because we have, we have Jason in the building, and he has a lot of life experience. And I know I'm a huge NBA fan, so I would just like to hear about some of the things that the fans don't really get to hear about on a day-to-day basis, and to hear what it's like to live, that sort of lifestyle, because it's very different than, the average person. All right. So before we bring Jason on, though, I do have to do my affirmations for happiness, and we're just going to open up to a completely random page, and we're going to see what's going on. All right, here, page number 84. I'm going to read it to you guys. So it says, happiness begins with me. I no longer need to look to other people, outer circumstances, or arbitrary milestones in order to start feeling better. Happiness is a personal choice that begins with a simple intention. I'm taking full responsibility for my happiness and well-being starting right now. Let's get it, man. I hope that serves somebody out there. Usually it does. Every time I just pick a random page, it's always speaking to somebody that may be watching. And that's for you guys. I know that was definitely for me too. And I'm gonna let you guys know one more thing too. A lot of people get into relationships, or particularly relationships, because they think that other person is going to fill that void that's within them. I'm just here to make you realize and understand that you always got to complete yourself first, and then you attract the people that are meant to be there into your life. And that's just a quick version of it, because we can have a whole entire another episode. You already know about the mindset that goes into it and the positivity that we always talk about. So, man, I'm super excited about this episode for today. And it's time to get after it, man. I hope you guys are ready for the content that we're about to bring y'all for today. So let's get it. Jason, what are you doing, man? Stop putting people on a poster. It's time to get on the show. Jason, how's it going today, brother?
What's going on, man? It's good to be on the show. Good vibes only.
Oh, yeah, you already know. That's kind of like our motto over here. We only deal with the positive side of things, because you already know, as you understand, if you start to think in a negative mindset or a negative mind frame, you're just going to attract more of that. So you want to stay away from that. Jason, man, even the story, first of all, thank you so much for being here. But even the story about how I saw you in person was absolutely amazing. So I give a little bit of background about that. You're talking to my mom, and she's the one who mentioned about you coming on the show. And then on that same day, I actually see Jason at the club, and we're just having a good time, man, chopping it up. So I always think that, when stuff like that happens, number one, it's always meant for a reason. And number two, we are in our vibrational alignments. So Jason, speaking of positivity, man, we're just going to jump right into it. So I want you to talk about, you were drafted number 12 in the NBA draft. And I want you to talk about how having a positive mindset correlated with, your opportunity and you being in that position to be drafted at that spot. Did a positive mindset help you to have everything that you have?
Yeah, for sure. I think for the most part, I was always an underdog. Growing up in a small area in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, and South Jersey. It's not really broadcast like that, other than places like Camden and things like that. So I always had that chip on my shoulder. To be a big fish in a small pond, and just come out of nowhere with hard work and dedication. So regardless of when you start becoming into the limelight, I went to a small school at Rider University, where you don't have that many NBA prospects, and for me, I just wanted to do well on the team and graduate, and then it started becoming into reality of going to the NBA. My last year, my junior and senior year, put on 60 pounds. Got to 6'11", and I was ready. So like I said, regardless of that, when you're in the limelight, they're going to tell you the pros and cons of your game. When most of the times, every time you hear all great things about your game. So if you don't have good vibes, you don't know how you got there. So I definitely used that. And then June 26, 2008, got drafted in the lottery by the Sacramento Kings. The rest is history.
Wow, man, and congratulations to you as well, because that's, they say that only a very, very, very small percentage of people actually make it to the NBA. So congratulations to you. Now, when you got, let's fast forward a little bit. Let's talk about when you first stepped foot on an NBA court. What are some of the emotions, and what are some of the things that are going through your head? You're a rookie, and who did you play against? And what are some of the things that went through your head?
For one, a lot of things have helped me because I had trained in Philadelphia, and they had John Harnett had ran the runs at LaSalle. So when I was going to Rider, I was driving up, taking about an hour and 45 minutes to train with. That's when AI was a Sixer, Aaron McKee, and other NBA players that would go there. So I kind of knew that I could play at that level. Like you said, you just don't really know until you put a uniform on. So I feel like, and even preparing for the NBA draft, I kind of held my own, or playing against other veteran guys that were in the league, and I knew I could. I wasn't just a guy putting up big numbers at a small school. So my first NBA game, like I said, obviously you're going to have that emotion and those jitters, but for the most part, I had a lot of confidence. I think at the time I wasn't starting, but I just knew once I came into the game, I had a lot of energy. And like you said, you're living the dream. So I was, doing everything what it took with. I knew what it took to get to the point that I was at. And like I said, it wasn't a point of everybody that knew me and knew of me, knew how I could play. Now it was for the world to see it. And, I feel like I didn't disappoint anybody, and had a ball doing it.
Yeah, and that's amazing. One of the things that really stood out is what you just mentioned is about, you know that you're all the way up here, and now it's just the rest of the world making them realize, understand that, you can play at that level. And I want everybody to really focus on that point. Wherever you are right now, you can be in the best city in the world and the worst city in the world. When you have that confidence and when you have that inner being and you know that you belong in any stage in the world, everybody's going to resonate with that confidence, and they're going to say, yo, well, I can really see that this person is meant to be there. So make sure that you always have that confidence. I don't care what you may be going through in your life. You may have the most amount of money or the smallest amount of money in the world. All of that stuff doesn't matter. When you believe in yourself, that's how you really know you can be in any stage that you want. Now, you were talking, Jason, about the lifestyle, and here's one of the questions that I have in regards to lifestyle is that, everybody thinks that the NBA lifestyle is glamorous and that it's all the flashing lights and, you can really get anything that you want. Is there anything that didn't meet your expectations, going forward? Like, a lot of people probably said, yo, especially you probably said, hey, man, this is the life. Is there anything that didn't live up to your expectations?
No, I don't think for the most part. I mean, I think that you have to just be wise of your decision making and how you spend your money. I've seen a lot of, veteran guys on my team and other teams, and documentaries were coming out as being broke, and if you if you kind of break it down, if you get $1 million, Uncle Sam's chopping that in half, then you got to be able to pay rent, or find a place to stay at. Then your car, obviously you need clothes, and you want to kind of meet up to expectations with cars and jewelry and stuff. And then and then most people, take care of their family. So I know that a couple of former NBA players said that on their first contract, or first, check, they were already broke. So I just knew that, I had to manage your money. Also kind of know who your friends are and who is just there for the fame. I think was really important. I knew when I got drafted, I started getting, texts and stuff, and these are guys that didn't, even wish me a happy birthday or anything like that. So, you kind of knew what they were in for. But for the most part, like I said, depending on what market you're in, I played in a small market for most of my career in Sacramento. So it's not like LA where you're going to see tons of actors and actresses, at the restaurant you're at, or down the street. You would see them more on the road with limited time, and then in the off season. So, if anything, I would say that, where if you're on a small city, small market, but like this means that you have diehard fans. And, for the most part, you really can't go out to eat or anything like that without being kind of, harassed in a way, respectfully. I feel like you can't do stuff solo. And I was always with my friends or family members or things like that, just so, on a respectful level, and also on the safer side as well. So, it's a lot of things that you don't ever know when your name gets called, or when you're in the NBA, but you kind of got to check your surroundings and make sure you know what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people, I like to call that the crabs in the barrel effect, especially when you come from the inner city. You have people that once you make it, they just want to bring you back down. Now, as far as not letting, because Jason, I can tell you, man, just from our conversations now and even before when we were talking, you just seem like a super humble, super nice, like a good dude to be around. Now, what are some of the strategies and some of the techniques that you use in order to make sure that none of the buzz got to your head and that you always remember where you came from?
Yeah, I just knew I kind of wanted to have that mindset even when I got there. Not a lot of people know about the grind that each and every player that has to go through, preparing for the draft, and, you're going from city to city, preparing for teams. You're unsure. Everybody thinks they know where they're going to go on draft day, and you never know. So it's just a whole grind to get where you want to get. And some people think when they get their name called, if they make an NBA team, that's the finish line. Nah, you got to be able to sustain that. And even, I was a lottery picking on a rookie NBA, contract. That wasn't my end goal. I was like, you know what? I want to eventually, get a second contract and be able to be set for life and be able to take care of my family, me and myself and my family. Um, so, that was always the goal. Even, not the limelight, and not, turning up and all those type of things. Those all things are all good and stuff, but they don't last for a lifetime. So, making those type of moves, and being able to think before you do stuff, is very important to be successful and to become, I was blessed enough to be the longest tenured in Kings franchise history. When I got drafted, I never thought that I could accomplish, those type of records and things like that. So just humble throughout the process. I think in year 14 for me now, I can just sit back and reflect on those things. But while you're going through it, man, it's all about the grind. You never really can just appreciate what you're doing, and enjoy it as much. You're just living it. And then, when you can be able to sit down and reflect on stuff, then that's when it really feels good.
Okay, and let's talk about this, this reflection period. Is there anything when you sat down to really, analyze your career, is there anything that you would have done differently from the choices that you made?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I've done other interviews before. I think, sometimes, and I think you have it, I have it, and I think everyone has it. We all have some type of ego, right? So, when then you always think that the grass is greener on the other side, at certain situations at certain times. So, sometimes when you're successful, and, you're in certain situations, you need to, take a step down or sit down and reflect, and maybe go up to somebody and, ask and learn and educate yourself on certain things. We should never have the mentality, even if we have fans or people look up to us and think that we're God or things like that, where you should never think that we're too big to go up to someone and ask them either for something, for help, or just to be educated on something, man. And I think that that's what this generation has done is everyone says, man, I'm not going up to them and asking them this question. Like I could do it on my own. And then they learn the hard way and then it's too late. So like I said, I think everyone needs to sit down and think before they do stuff. And like you said, if it has to do with, for me, instance, it's teammates or a coach. I talk to a lot of kids now where if they're not getting in the games and stuff, they blame the coaches all the time. But it's like, did you ever go to the coach and actually ask him why he's not playing you? Right? You know what I mean? Or do you know if you're in college and if you want to become a pro, the pro scouts are asking the coach how is the player. So if you have a backlash with the coach, you're not going to be able to get good reviews and those things, or your draft stock can go down. So like I said, you have to do stuff strategically and try to make things work. Even if it's not perfect, it can still work because it can work for both situations or both parties.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people kind of lose that humbleness or, the ego starts to get the best of them, especially if they're getting, national coverage. I can only imagine now, especially the players now are so much different from the media coverage back then. You could even take it 20, 30 years ago. So as a young kid, once you start to get that limelight, your head can blow up. But a lot of people really don't take the time to say, hey, listen, maybe I should have this humble factor because anything could happen. An injury can happen or something with the family might happen. So nothing really is guaranteed. So I can totally understand what you mean by just saying, hey, take a step back and always keep your ego in check too. I feel like, even people that are not in the NBA, if they receive a lot of money or they receive a certain status or whatever career they do, they kind of think that they're better than everybody. And I always like to say that everybody's beside each other. Some people have just been doing it longer than you. But as long as you have that drive, as long as you have that mindset, you can really accomplish anything that you want to accomplish. We have a fan question right here. Positivity posse question right here. It's actually my brother too. So here it is. Biggest adjustment from college to the NBA. Were you ever starstruck? If so, who was the player?
I think the biggest adjustment is, you gotta, you're living on your own. In college you have roommates and you have to have a certain lifestyle. Obviously, in the NBA you have all this money, and you have to be able to balance to do it right. I'm sure you guys even know of how talented some guys you probably play with. It doesn't matter if it's basketball, football, or anything, right? But then if they can't handle the stuff off the court or off the field, and they can't handle the limelight, then they can't really succeed. You know what I mean? Or they get themselves caught up in situations that they shouldn't have. You know what I mean? And it's so important because, in college, it kind of teaches you for the next level too, because I can't play on the court in college if my grades aren't right. And it's the same thing goes with the NBA. God forbid something happens to an athlete, they should have their degree or some type of education because, sports don't last forever. You know what I mean? You should be able to talk to people in person or be able to talk in an interview, and things like that. And I forget the second part of the question. Starstruck. Yeah, starstruck. Nah, I mean, if anything, it was it's humble experiences, right? I think we've talked about it before, where you have to take your ego aside and go up to. I was fortunate enough to play against. I love how like some kids nowadays, man, they're like, "Yo, have you played against this player?" I'm like, "Yeah." They were still playing during the time I played with everybody or against everybody. So fortunate enough to play, against Kobe Bryant. Rest in peace. You know what I mean? And we played him 4 times a year, being in the Pacific Division. But since Sacramento and the Lakers are so rivals, where it's just tough to kind of even show more love than what you think. But like I said, as players, you just keep it within players, and you're playing against guys like LeBron and Shaq and Allen Iverson. And these are guys that I had on my wall, when I was young and wearing their gear and stuff. And then now I'm suiting up, playing against these guys. So you kind of have, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett. I mean, these Tracy McGrady. These are guys that, you know, I wore certain numbers because of them or played my game because of them. But you can't show that sign of weakness when you're on the court because you're like, oh, this kid is talented, but he's a fan of mine. All right, I'm going right at him. I've seen it. I've seen it from my teammates where they'll go up to them and be like, man, I love you, man, da da da, and they shine this form of weakness. I will always show my love, but I'm going at cats. I don't care what it is. I don't care if they got a bad ankle or not, because at the end of the day, that's how you survive through the trenches.
Most definitely, and that's how you said that's how you make a name for yourself. Because if everybody's showing that weakness, then you're giving the enemy, so to speak, you're giving them a chance to hit you right where you're weakest, so you're not really able to defend yourself. I want to talk about all of these players that you've played against and all the stages that you've played on. Can you tell us about a moment where the crowd was 100% against you? Maybe it's a free throw, one of the final moments. Maybe it's one of the closing seconds. Whatever the situation is for you, can you talk about a time where the crowd was 100% against you? How did you ignore the negativity and perform the best that you can to your ability?
Yeah, you gotta just block out the noise because at the end of the day, this is not the first time that it should happen, right? If you're a great player, you know, I mean, middle school, high school, college, I mean, every level, man. If you're a great player, they have to find ways to stop you. And if they can't physically stop you because of your talent, they got to try to do it mentally. So you got to be smart enough to not let the refs affect you, not to let double teams, because that's what's so important of trying to see how talent is of kids, right? Right. Because you know, if you don't watch a game, if someone doesn't watch a game, then all they see is the box score, and they'll be like, "Oh man, this is an NBA top 5 NBA prospect, and he only has 5 points." But did you watch that he got triple team and quadruple team? And other people are like, "All right, well, what can he do then? How many assists does he have? How many rebounds?" You know what I mean? So you kind of got to just block out the adversity because I'd be lying to you if all games are perfect, right? I can have a perfect game, 30 points, 20 rebounds, or whatever. But in my mind, and my mindset is I should have had 40 points and 30 rebounds. But that's just my mindset. Some people say that might be healthy, but that's why I was be able to have the certain success that I had because I always just thought of more of myself and what can I do to let everything out because the worst feeling in the world is to be able to not give it your all. You know, the older you get, the less opportunities you have athletically and stuff. So what a worse feeling is if you're at home that day and you be like, you know what, I could have dove on that ball, loose ball. We could have won and we could have went to the NBA finals or championship game at any level. You know what I mean? So you just at the end of the day, you just got to block out the adversity. You know, for me, I never had social media until my rookie year in the NBA. So nowadays, this is a little tougher on kids that are in middle school, high school, and college. You know, we had Facebook, MySpace. That still was college. We had AOL Instant Messenger, man. Like, you know what I mean? You see a girl in the hallway, you be like, yo, what's your AOL? Not what's your number. You know what I mean? That's my age group. So, you know, to say that, you know, I didn't like, if anything, if somebody like, you know, in college, we would have like fans would get the room numbers so to keep us up all night. You know what I mean? Now they can get their Instagram or they can get you can FaceTime on Instagram and all this type of stuff too, where a lot of kids are putting more pressure on themselves and not really actually enjoying the game that they used to as a kid. So like I said, you just got to focus on it and just know that if they're a great player or they're a good player, man, just enjoy the game because it doesn't last forever.
Definitely. And I see that a lot of these things that you say are really geared toward the newer players and the younger players. And later on in the show, we're going to talk about your camp and what drives you to do it. But right now, what's the biggest piece of advice that you can give to, let's just say, young athletes? Let's broaden it a little bit. What's the biggest advice that you can give to young athletes around the world?
My thing is just don't think about like right. You have set goals for yourself. Number one is to be successful in school, right? Because like I said before, God forbid anything happens to you. We're not all gifted athletically. If you have an injury, don't let that be the only thing that you have. Don't only think that you're a basketball player, right? If you want to get to college, you're a student athlete. That's why student is before athlete, right?
Mhm.
So you want to be able to do that. You should, regardless of whatever goes in your life, make sure that is good. Then, like you said, take care of your body. You know what I mean? Don't do drugs, don't do alcohol, don't do those type of things to kind of limit your abilities. And, you know, those causes certain things where you just don't know. You know what I mean? So try and eat as healthy as you can and clean as you can, drink a lot of water. Have the mindset of, lifting, strength and conditioning, and just be the hardest worker that you can be. Don't try to compare yourself to one of your teammates or your classmates. Just be the best of you that you can be. If you're not everybody's the tallest, not everybody's the most athletic, not everyone's the widest on the court, but you can always get better and elevate yourself. So, and like I said, enjoy the game. Basketball got me here talking to you. If I wasn't here on basketball, then I wouldn't be here talking to you. But also if I didn't have a college degree and was successful in high school, then I wouldn't be able to talk in front of you, and I'd be nervous and stuttering and all those type of things as well too. So everything comes hand in hand. Enjoy life. You know, there's a lot of kids now are leaving high school early to go to college for money and all this type of stuff, man. Hey, just do it the right way, man. You only have one prom, you only have one graduation in each level. Enjoy your livelihood as a kid, man. You're never gonna be a kid ever again. Just enjoy it, and everything will come the time that it needs to come.
That's what I'm talking about. I hope you guys have your pens. I hope you guys have your notebooks, because Jason right now is spinning them golden nuggets, man. I hope you guys are really enjoying everything. Thank you so much, Jason, for that. Now, Jason, there was a real life topic that I kind of want to. This is going to be the final question before we have to do the intermission. I got to put the work from the sponsors. But did you happen to see the meltdown that happened with the Heat maybe like 2 days ago? I think it was last night, with Eric Spoelstra, Haslam, and Jimmy Butler, how they had the meltdown. Now, that just really raised one question for me. Now, as far as NBA fans, we only get to see the halftime show, or maybe we're going to get our crab fries, or we're waiting in line to go to the bathroom during the halftime. So, can you talk about what the dynamic of the conversation is? Going into the locker room. Maybe it's a very intense game. Maybe you're even losing. Like, what's the atmosphere like inside of the locker room at halftime?
Yeah, man. I mean, every locker room is different. I can't speak for everything, but to go off of what you have said, I mean, the Heat have had a great year, regardless of injuries and all those type of things. Great teams go through adversity, right? And Eric Spoelstra is a great coach. He's part of Team USA. He was a TV guy, and then now is one of the greatest coaches that is in the game right now, and probably will be in history at some point with championships and stuff. So they had just lost to the Sixers. Without Joel Embiid and James Harden on the road, and then they went back home to play against a depleted Warriors team with no Steph, no Clay, and no Draymond. And like you said, Spoelstra's a good coach, man. Like, when you have those type of moments, knowing that the world we live in, where it's going to be on social media, you got to hype your team up a little bit. Now, there was a lot of some other stuff that had happened that happens as well too. Sometimes, usually it happens behind the scenes, but HD now catches everything. You can't do nothing. You can't even pick your nose on the court, and someone's going to see it, and it becomes a meme. That's just the world we live in. But like I said, I mean, it's going to fire up the team, and they know the eye is on the prize for every NBA team that has a chance, even with the playing now, man. It's to win a championship. So it's better for situations like that to happen now than happen in the playoff series, because it can mess up the whole camaraderie of the team. So at the end of the day, it's not perfect. Has there ever been a perfect champion? No. I mean, I think the closest one was the Lakers when they played AI and the Sixers, but AI and them won game one, and then they won. So I think that was the only time where a team had won every game to win a championship, but they lost to the Sixers that one time. So, like I said, there is no perfect champion. Eric Spoelstra knows what he's doing. I'm sure everybody, may bygones be bygones, and they already know the bigger picture. So, like I said, nothing is perfect. But like I said, for me, it's just as long as nothing happened, though. You know what I mean? No one punched each other. No one did nothing crazy, too much. And then business is business.
Definitely, yeah. So
that's how I look at it.
Yeah, well, I don't think that everybody has the same positive mindset, happy-go-lucky, where everything's kind of like perfect picture. But you actually are giving us insight into the game, and thank you so much again for being here and being totally transparent too, because I know a lot of people, they would love to have this opportunity. So I'm very grateful, and we just have to take a quick commercial break, just a minute, just to get a word in from our sponsors, and we're going to talk about life off the court for you as well. Because, like I said, you are more than an NBA player, and we got to hear about all the great things that you have going on. So don't go anywhere. We're just going to hear a quick word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back. So thank you for the sponsors for sponsoring the Weekly Dose of Dano show. We really do appreciate it. Now, Jason, we got to talk about, life off the court for you as well. You're more than an NBA player, right? We all know that because that's only a small percentage of what makes you up as a man, as a family member, everything that you got going for you as a mentor, all that good stuff. So, what do you want people to know about you? Like, that you're more than an NBA player. Is there anything that you want people to really understand about you and to get a glimpse of, your soul and everything that you got going on?
Yeah, man. I always have been a hard worker, so I knew that if I can ever make it in life and have my goal come true, that I would want to, give back. So my rookie year, I ended up starting up the Jason Thompson Foundation that had to do with the American Heart Association. My cousin Tiffany Carroll passed away with a certain heart disease called hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So I knew a better way was to try to relive her name, and we talk about to avoid obesity, heart disease, diabetes, and all those type of things into kids and young adults. And like I said, we've been doing that. I've been doing that for the past, 13 years, and having different events. I had a gala right before COVID that raised a lot of money and awareness, and we just want to keep it the ball snowball rolling since COVID is over and stuff like that. So I've been having consistent things with my camp. Like you mentioned earlier, on Thanksgiving, I have had with Live Like JT where it's a Thanksgiving dinner and a turkey drive for ones in about 4 or 5 different cities all throughout South Jersey. During Christmas time, we have a shopping spree where we have about 50 to 100 kids have $100 shopping spree, and they get to go throughout places in the store with our tons of greatly appreciated volunteers. During the springtime, which is up and coming, I think in June, we'll have our annual bike event where, I don't want just kids just, sitting in the house and stuff. So I'll get them bikes and have a trail and with helmets and to be able to, so they're exercising and things like that. And then my camp is the week of August 15th at River Winds Community Center. And I've had that for the past 14 years as well, too. Didn't get to have the last 2 years due to COVID, but I've helped out, over 250 kids each and every year. But like I said, for me, I don't even do it, for the notoriety, man. It's just great to have emails from kids and parents to say how much of an impact I've had on them to be able to succeed. They're graduating from colleges, high schools, and it just means a lot. So like that's the best feeling in the world is get a message from them knowing that I'm being able to change, these kids' lives, and that means the world to me.
Yeah, definitely. Now, as far as giving back, you do a lot with the community, but I'm going to share it because I got the link. I got a few pictures from Facebook. Would you be able to talk, about some of the pictures that you were about to see and talk about what you're feeling in these moments? Like, what do you hope to gain, while you're doing these events? So if you talk about this picture right here, what's going on through, saying to the kids, and what's your goal? What's your purpose?
Yeah.
Doing this?
So one thing I'm really big on is organization. So, and I think that just reflects on, how their parents want their kids to be. So I knew that's how I was raised and how my parents want to be. So that's just me starting off the camp. I was announced, from my good friend Julius on the right, who's the camp director. For me, it's just talking about a little bit about myself, for those that don't know, because sometimes it's word of mouth and they just want to go to a camp. But then I also, the people in the blue are behind me are the counselors. Some are professional athletes, some are professional coaches, college coaches, high school coaches, and the list goes on. Before the camp starts, we have a counselor meeting. Teach them about what's going on throughout the day. I tell them what I want to go on. I don't want them on their phones. I want them to be professional because some of them want to be professional athletes. And that's part of being a professional athlete as well, or even in a business. So we have that, and we're teaching the kids about, organization and not acting up. And I also start off with it saying, thank your parents and guardians for bringing them here safely and bringing them to this camp and to be able to know how blessed they are because some others aren't able to do it. I do that before the camp and after the camp. And like I said, man, it's just, we provide healthy lunches to them as well, too, to be able to know how it is to eat while there. We provide waters and body armor and other things and fruits and vegetables and stuff like that to help them throughout the time, man. So, and I'm also there every day. That's another thing. I'm not just, having my name on the camp. I'm there to help the kids, and I want to see them succeed. And I've seen some kids be there at, 6 years old, and now, they're in college and graduating. I've been to some of their college games, man. So it's a blessing, to see the growth in the camp, the growth in the kids, and how the parents love bringing their kids each and every year.
Definitely, and I could tell you have this big smile on your face as you're talking about everything that's going on, with the camp. Now, I feel like a big part of your life, and correct me if I'm wrong, is about support systems. Would you be able to talk about, the people that you keep around you and how important your support system is for all of your success?
Very important, man. Like I said, when I got my name called, I started getting all these texts and calls from different people. Got to be able to have a good circle, man, because you just don't know when the people that are right and wrong for you, and it helps you, on and off the court as well too. Like I said, not everyone has, played basketball, or plays a sport. But I think it just, when it comes to your friends, I think, I'm not sure you or anyone else, we might not have the same amount of friends that we did when we were younger, because sometimes you outgrow your friends. Sometimes your friends go in different paths that that's not the right path to go to. It might be not the best feeling, and might not, and you wish it changed, but sometimes it just happens, man. It's part of life. And sometimes they'll come back and say, yo, I'm glad you did what you did, because that was the right decision to do. You know what I mean? Some people will take their ego aside and actually, give praise or give thanks, or you help change their lives and stuff like that. So having a great support system with your parents, your guardians, the right friends is good, man, because at the end of the day, you have to have some fun too. As much as we all want to make so much money and this that, and the third, money isn't everything, man. Be loved, be around loved ones. But if you could do all of them at once, then that's the best feeling as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it goes back to what you were saying. You have friends that do the right things and do the wrong things. I know growing up in the inner city, especially going to elementary school in the inner city, I've seen kids grow up that I'm gonna say it for what it is. Like they have attempted murder charges, and then I have other friends, well, not friends, but acquaintances that I had back in the day. They overdosed on drugs, and but then you see the opposite side where I have friends that are very successful and they have their nose to the grindstone and they're making things happen for themselves. It's like, hey, well, you got to focus on yourself first and foremost. And you know what they say, man, if you surround yourself with 5 millionaires, you're going to be the sixth. So always keep that going forward.
Thanks.
Now, could you talk about, okay, so you probably learned countless lessons in the NBA. But can you talk about some of the lessons that you learned from the NBA that you carry with you on your everyday life?
Uh, I still think you just have to, have the right mindset. Um, you know, you're still your brand, right? Like, as much as and the funny thing is, it's like I'm big on terminologies, right? So when you even said in the beginning of the show where you're like, yo, I seen Jason in the club, for me, I would just be like, all right, it was just an event. If it just so happened to be at a club, like it wasn't like I was clubbing. But like I
Yeah,
said, I mean, that's where we met each other and this and the third. But I don't want the perception to be that I go to the club all the time and all those type of things as well too. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, is it okay to have fun and in a respectable area and time? Sure, but sometimes I don't say those type of things just because, if you see me, you see me. I'll be like, yeah, I'll wave or I'll tell you I was there. But that won't be the first thing that comes out of my mouth or whatever. But like I said, it's just being able to be a respectful thing, a brand. I would tell my parents and my friends all the time, man, sometimes when they go around, man, they represented me.
hmm
They may not know their name, but they be like, yo, you was with JT, right? You was with Jason Thompson, right? They're like, yeah. They're like, yo, man, why you doing that? Why you doing this? So, if they tweet something, if they post something on Instagram, they're somewhat affiliated with me, respectfully. You know what I mean? So they have to watch. They can't, post something crazy on their thing because it represents me. They'd be like, yo, Jason Thompson's parents, or I'm not saying this has happened, but I'm saying, or Jason Thompson's, family members or friends is doing this on the blogs and all that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So it's just thinking before you do something, not just worrying about yourself, but worrying about others around you and loved ones as well too. So just checking your surroundings and thinking before you do something.
Yeah, 100%. Now, as far as things that you have going on, because Jason, how old are you? I don't think I ever asked you.
35.
35. So, we still have a lot of years left ahead of us. Nobody knows where we're going to go, but let's just say that we both have a lot of years left ahead of us, right? What are some of the things that you still hope to accomplish in your life, and what are some of the goals that you have going forward?
Yeah, just I'm really intrigued of my path, life after basketball. I have my degree in communications, TV, radio at Rider University. So I want to find some type of ways of to doing the broadcasting or maybe do some cameos with you at some point or something like that. But just like I said, those type of shows, do a podcast. Which I had started before, but I was still so focused on basketball where I felt like I didn't really have the time and also mentoring and helping kids, if it comes to, for them in sports, for them in school, just another person to talk to. That's what my program, Live Like JT, is all about. Live, imagine, voice, and educate. That's the motto that I've been with. So I want to go into the schools, um, and be able to help these kids that have, maybe traumatized, or like you said, some kids have all the talent in the world, but they don't have anyone to kind of guide them through it. And all they need is that, and they can be able to let certain things and decision making go. So, those are some type of things that I'm passionate about, and I'm looking forward to doing that in the future.
Most definitely. Now, a lot of people, especially, Camden's right down the road, and that's actually where I grew up. It's like you said, you see a lot of talent nowadays, but if they don't have that direction or that sense of self-worth and that self-being, then, they're probably going to end up being a product of their environment, which I hate that term, by the way. Let me just clear that up. I don't
Mm.
believe that you ever become a product of your environment. I think it's all about what goes on in the inner household that really drives you to what you become. I mean, there's a lot of drugs around here and a lot of negative stuff, but once you focus on the positives and you know what you're able to achieve of, and you anything that you want you're able to obtain. Now, Jason, at what point did you know, okay, listen, like, I want to be an NBA player? At what point did you know this is a real possibility for you? Was it when you had that major growth spurt to become 6'11", or did you know way before that you were able to accomplish it?
Yeah, I always knew I had the mindset of it. Clearly, growing a couple inches in college helps. But I always knew that I had the work ethic. I knew I had the talent. I always believed. I believed, right? And I went from going into my junior year as a second round pick, to getting more notoriety, and then going into my senior year in college, I went from a second round pick to late to mid first round, and then as the draft process went and workouts went and my senior season went, I ended up getting drafted, number 12 in the lottery, and being the 12th best player in the world. Um, and like I said, man, I mean, it's a dream come true. I didn't really know how I was going to react. I had the certain story where I've told people, and it's in YouTube and all that type of stuff, but I didn't go to the draft. I was there at my home with my family and limited family and friends, and had Comcast and ESPN there. And, sometimes you just don't ever know if it's going to happen. So it was one of them situations where they were there, but if it happened on the other end of the stick, it'd have been a tough time. So I'm just blessed, and blessed around my loved ones. I never take anything for granted as well too. I think that I really appreciate all the people that have helped me to become the man I became on the court and off the court as well. And I try to let them know as much as I can, to where I'm a helping hand, and I'm local to where I'm from, so it just feels good to be able to live my dream, and still living it.
Definitely, man. And that's one of the things that you can just tell the authenticity of how you're speaking and just the clarity. You just know. And the sense of calmness, too. You just know, look, this is what I wanted to do. I achieved it. And you're actually taking the extra step and giving it back because, I know a lot of people that have accomplished many, many great things. And they just think it's all about themselves. And, they just all about me, me, me. But you're the complete opposite. So, you know what I mean? One of the people that I really do respect you, Jason. Thank you for coming on again. We only have time for maybe about two more questions because there's only 5 minutes left of the show. So
Cool.
here we go. This is how I always close the show off with, and I'm going to ask you the same question. If there's anybody in their deepest, darkest time right now, and they really may not be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, what advice or what strategies would you be able to give to them in order to get them out of that place?
Like I said, I think just have faith. I know everyone believes, in different things, religion wise, and all those type of things. I didn't really grow up, in a church all the time, but I do believe in God. I believe Jesus is the Son of God, um, and I do pray, often as well too. So I know that, you know Do I believe in everything happens for a reason? Yeah, I think when good things happen. Um, but I think that if you have a positive mind, one thing also too is I teach everybody. Like I try to have, like you say, good vibes only. I post on my IG on, the vibe of the day. I'm a very vibe person. If I feel off a vibe of someone that's not good, then I'm going to tell you that I'm not really feeling the vibe. I have nothing against you. It's just I'm only on good vibes. But with that being said, I know that nothing, it's not a perfect world. So if something good happens, then I learn from that and I go off that vibe. But if something bad happens, I learn I learn about the bad, right? I try to take the positive of why I'm going through this situation and why I know not to be in that situation or have someone deal with that situation later on. So, like I said, I'm always positive vibes regardless of it, but you just want to learn from someone's mistake, your mistake, and try not to make that mistake again. So that's the type of mindset that I always have.
100%. And then I wanted to show this as well because this is also a motto that we always like to talk about on the show. Everything is a lesson or a blessing. So it's like you said, if something happens to you that might not be the most positive thing in the world, there's always a lesson. Everything that's thrown into your life, I firmly believe, is placed there so that you can learn and you're able to grow and not run into that same problem over and over. Or if you do experience that same problem, you know how to deal with it going forward, and everything that can ever happen to you, you know you can accomplish it and you can overcome it. So Jason, what's next for you, man? Like, what? Here we go, right here. So what's next for Jason Thompson? What's the plan? What's the moves, man?
Yeah, in a perfect world, we'll see. I mean, I may play one more year. I may not. If not, then I either go into coaching or mentoring, and then broadcasting as well. So I haven't, officially decided exactly what I'm doing. That's why I have a little bit of time to make those decisions. But I would say, if you want to follow me on IG, JT the Kid, JTTHEKID. I'm a very upfront person, so usually when some type of news happens or whatever, I usually post about it. I also post, like I said, certain stuff in my story about how I'm thinking, even if it's not coming from my mouth. So, like I said, I'm really excited about the future, though, right? Like I've had such a blessed career of basketball. Basketball has done so much for me. I love the game. But like I said, I'm not just a basketball player. I'm more than an athlete. And I know that there's so much stuff that I need to give out to people that I'm very excited for the next chapter of my life.
Definitely. And then if you guys didn't get that, it's right here, JT the Kid at Instagram, just to keep up with everything. Lou says, great show. Good luck with everything, Jason. And before you go, man, I'm going to tell you two things. Number one, thank you so much for being here today. If there's anything that you may ever need from me, I'm saying it right here live on camera. I would love to be of service for you in any capacity. And number two, man, good luck with everything going forward. I know this is going to be, the start of a beautiful friendship. And like I said, man, good luck with everything. God bless you. You deserve it. Because, once you're comfortable with everything inside, I always believe that everything that happens on the outside is a reflection of what goes on inside. So, you're keeping it good inside and you're keeping the people around you in that positive light. And man, I just wish you many, many more games, many blessings, many more opportunities, and anything that you want, man. I hope you receive it. And if I can help you at all, you just let me know.
Appreciate it, man. What is it? Destined to meet your mom, meet yourself in the same night, man, and being able to be on this platform and being able to help out the youth and these kids. And I know you're doing the same as well on the show, and that's what I'm trying to do as well. So we definitely on the same mindset. Good vibes only. Everything is a lesson or a blessing. Appreciate you
That's
having
what
me,
I'm
dog.
talking about. Yeah, so next week we have Tracy Randolph. I'm actually that's my co-host for MC for the Power of We. We're actually taking about 250 kids in the Chicago area. We're taking them out of school and we're bringing them on the big stage so we can talk to them and tell them that you're not a product of your environment. We're having world-renowned speakers coming all over the world in Chicago, April 28th. So I hope to see you guys there. And Jason, thank you so much again. So be in store. Like I said, Tracy will be on the show next week. and we're going to just spread the positive energy. Jason, thank you so much to my positivity posse. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you guys next week for another episode of Weekly Dose of Dano TV. Peace.